All right. Good morning, everybody. This is warning to all politicians. I'm running for president 2024, part 5. Just some more things about technology. We'll have those electronic tags on all cars. With the technology and stuff, it can record your speed. It'll have, no information as to popping up on the cop's deal in his car, saying who owns it or anything like that, unless it pings, and it does that all on its own. It scans. So if the cop's sitting in a 45-mile-an-hour zone, he's got you on radar or something, this thing will also be going. If it pings and the radar gun goes off, he's got you for speeding. It's no racial profiling. It's recorded. Plus if they're looking for a vehicle somewhere that was, that tag pinged at a crime scene or near a crime scene and stuff, if he's sitting there and you go by, that thing's just going to be scanning. It's going to ping. And that's why he's going to come and pull you over, not because he's racially profiling. It'll take a lot of that out. Those things are also going to, it's also going to have a kill switch. No more of these police chases where, innocent people get harmed, and it goes on for hours and causes, all kinds of chaos on our freeways. So it'll have a kill switch. Shut the vehicle off right there and then. If needs to, that's what needs to be done. And then technology with the bank accounts and stuff, cashless society. Everybody will be able to get a college loan. I don't know what the terms are they do on these things and everything, but being it's being paid back to the government and stuff, and everyone's going to have automatic direct deposit. Your college loan will be auto paid, and it'll be based off of what your income is. And so, you're not making enough money, it'll have an automatic thing. Like, say you're supposed to, be paying $100 a month back or whatever. You're not making that much money. It'll automatically adjust, go down to, if it's got to go down, to $5 a month, whatever. While your income is down, that's what it'll do. No having to go file paperwork and all this and everything. It'll be in the program, in the systems. It'll monitor what is going into your account, how much is going into your account, and adjust. And as far as the term on the loans, I don't know what they are, but seems to me, if you got to lengthen the term just like you do a mortgage or something on these loans, so that people can pay them back and not be stressed about that, that's what'll be done. And the same thing like with child support and stuff, right? It's usually based off your income, but like if there's a change in your income and stuff and everything, you got to go through this process and follow all this paperwork and go through the system and all that. It's automatically going to do that, because there was a period where I was out of work for 8 months, tore my rotator cuff, and so workman's comp, we're going to look into that too. We're going to see how that's based, because it don't pay squat, and if you're really injured and stuff, there's no reason why you should have to eat spaghetti and rice like I did for 8 months, just so I could pay my bills, pay my medical insurance under Obamacare, which doubled from $400 some odd bucks a month to $800 a month, which I would have got rid of, except under my child support order. I had to pay for my kids' health insurance too, which meant I had to have, most policies, I had to have a policy on myself and then add him to it. Plus under Obamacare anyway, I had to have a policy on myself. I had no problem taking care of my kid, paying my child support. I believe everybody ought to be responsible and take care of their children. So I didn't have any problem with that, but there I was out of work, workman's comp, I got $1,200 every 2 weeks on workman's comp, which I pay my own workman's comp insurance. Got $1,200 every 2 weeks, and by the time I spent $800 a month on the health insurance, $600 a month on my child support, and then paid my bills. There was very little left over to pay. That also set me behind on my taxes. I was just getting back, paying my taxes back when that happened. That set me back again. And then when I came back to work, I owed the company $9,000 on the truck I had, and so I had to pay that back. So that set me back also, and wasn't able to keep up on my taxes. So getting back, I've been paying that. So we'll talk about taxes too. There's going to be no more interest on back taxes that you owe. We'll figure out what penalties can be and how they should be applied and when they should be applied, and allow people, make it easier for people to pay off their taxes without all this stuff. And don't be as afraid of the IRS as what they're telling you. You hear these commercials all the time, which are nothing but ways for those companies to make money. They make you feel like the IRS is going to come cut your head off and take everything you own. I called them. They said as long as they saw an effort that I was paying, I didn't have to worry about any of that stuff. That unless it's in a extremely large amount, unless it's people who aren't filing, which I've always filed, haven't been able to pay, been sending them what I can, trying to catch up. It's like trying to dig a hole at the beach without the waves coming in and filling everything up and having to start. It's just an uphill battle. So we're going to look at how that's done for people who are just struggling and they're not trying to avoid their taxes. We're gonna make them not criminals instead of all these actual criminals out there. We're gonna make it easier for people who've had financial hardships and real hardships in their lives to get back on their feet and not be worried. And so since everything will be electronically deposited in all this, hey, the system's also going to see if you owe back taxes, and what kind of payment plan there is and stuff. It'll lower how much you give to the IRS each month, and eventually we'll get rid of that because there'll be no more filing. It'll be just whatever's taken out as your payroll tax is going to the system's automatically going to monitor it, and it's going to take what tax bracket you fit into automatically, your payroll taxes. No more of this filing stuff, all that kind of stuff. Same thing, people who are getting paid dividends and anything qualifies under capital gains and all that, that's all going to be automatically done. So no one will get behind on taxes anymore. The system's going to monitor what your income is, and it'll be done automatically. Even if you're a contractor out there and stuff, and the company you're with doesn't take like a payroll tax and stuff, and it's up to you to do quarterly and stuff like that. Well, any income you have, automatically it's going to be done just like a payroll tax, even if you're a contractor. So you can't get behind. So that'll take care of that problem. And so, like I was saying, my child support, there was a process, because it was supposed to go by my income. And if your income goes down, your child support's supposed to go down. If your income goes up, it's supposed to, if you're X or whatever. Well, I think if it goes up, it's supposed to go up. No, because it's only it's based on the income that was when you were married, the way Arizona does it anyway. So if you both made the same amount of money while you were married, they figure the cost of raising the child, and then they divide that 50-50. So then you pay your 50%. They have a rate that, they go by. And if you made more than her during your marriage, if it was a 75-25, well, then you pay more, whatever it is. But we're going to figure all that stuff out and make life easier, so you don't have to go through all these processes all the time and through all these bureaucracies and stuff. We're going to work it out, and there'll be a system. And so, something happens, you get injured, you get fired, you get laid off or something like that. Instead of all this stuff having to go through, and then the chance of, hey, they're going to show you behind on child support or owing more or something like this. It's just going to be in the system. Straight to your bank account. If you're normally paying $140 a week in child support, all of a sudden your income goes down to half. Well, then the system will adjust to what your child support is, and you won't have to argue with your ex about it or anything like that, because that was main thing that held me back. I was like, hey, I'm hurt. I'm not working right now. I'm only getting workman's comp. I'm going to go see if I can get my child support reduced. Oh, you can't do that. I had to deal with that stuff. You can't do that. I won't be able to pay my bills, blah, 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 all this, everything. It's like, well, thank you very much after all the help I gave you. But, anyhow, that's another story. But, so we'll work all this stuff out. College loans, all this. It's always amazed me that when people get behind on stuff, instead of there being a process, like you get behind on your mortgage, boom, they're on you. Hey, we're going to foreclose. We're going to all this stuff and everything. It's like, well, wait a minute, I can't make 2 payments at once. And in the meantime, they're adding, extra interest or whatever the hell. And, and that's another thing, like apartments, late fees. Because some of these places are just ridiculous with what they get away with if you're even, 1 or 2 days late. We're gonna do that for poor people and working people too. We're gonna set it. No, you can't do this. First day you're late, you charge them $25, and then $10 a day after that and stuff. And no, sorry. So like say you're behind on your mortgage, and you can only make half payments. Well, this is going to be reflected in that account. Hey, your income went down, whatever. You can only make those half payments during a period of time or something. There'll be a process. There might be a little more than having it done automatically. You might have to, we'll have some kind of deal set up to where, it can drop for like a period of 6 months or something. They have to give you so long before they can come and foreclose and stuff, because, look at it this way. Here you are, say you're in that house 10, 12 years. You've actually, already paid probably enough for the principal what the house was when you first moved in. And it's just, all the interest and stuff, that you're going to be paying off the next 10, 20 years, whatever it is you owe on your mortgage. And so you more or less, you've paid for that property more or less. It's just the interest and all the other crap that is still owed on it. And we're going to come take it away. Well, wait a minute. I've actually already paid for this. It's just the money I owe you in interest, actually, on the, and so we're gonna work out things to where, they got to work with you. They got to take half payments. They can't, because that's what I said when we had trouble with our mortgage, which was through one of those companies that you know, they considered predatory lenders, but at the time didn't seem like it to me, you know, because I was making good money and all this and everything. We had our down and stuff when we bought our home, and you know, we had a good rate, a decent payment, wasn't killing us anything. Didn't have one of these stupid things where you know, our interest rate was fixed. We didn't have one of these stupid ones where, you know, it could go sky high and all this and we couldn't make payments. So, but you know, later on, you know, 7 years down the road, whatever it was, when let's see, when was the recession? 2008. So 10 years down the road, when everything, you know, the recession was and all that and everything, and we got behind a little bit, they would not work with us one iota. Not one iota would they work with us. So we're gonna look at that. We're gonna get these types of things straightened out. You know, they can't threaten you all. We're gonna come take your home and all this when you're having whatever it is. You've had an injury, you've had an illness, you've had all this and everything. You know, they're gonna have to cut you some slack, and then not bury you under late fees and penalties. Same with the IRS. They're not going to bury you under late fees and penalties. You know, same thing with car loans. Got down. We had what, two or three payments left on a car, but we were like behind a payment, maybe two payments, when the loan, the whole full term of the loan came due, and we should have been paid the 5-year loan on the car, whatever it was. You know, that month was coming to an end, and we had paid, you know, all our payments except we were behind like 2 payments. So they wanted those 2 payments there by the end of the term of that loan. And, you know, we paid everything else, and so we're talking like $600 or whatever it was on that car, so it would have went 2 more months, or, you know, less than that. I told him, I said, I can't pay a double payment plus this month's payment right now. You know, it's like $1,000. Can't do that. So I'll just finish paying it off the rest of the month. No, the contract is, it ends this day, and by this day you're supposed to have all that paid. I said, well, I can't do that right now. You know, this was also during the recession stuff. Well, we're going to come and take the car. I said, what? I've done business with, it was through a credit union, and I had paid off like 2 other vehicles before that. You know, I had until that point when we had trouble and stuff, and, you know, I had like AAA credit. You know, I could pretty much go get anything on my signature. And so they're like, well, we're going to come and take the car. I said, wait a minute. We've had these vehicle loans and this other stuff we've done through this credit union. You've made your money off of us, and you're going to treat me this way. You can't cut me a slack another month, maybe 2 months to make these other payments. You're going to come take the car. I've already, you know, with the interest and everything, you know, I've already paid the car off, and plus, you know, you can't cut me some slack. No, we're going to come take the car. I said, well, to me, that's like stealing, because I've actually already paid for this car. And you're going to come, and it's Blue Book, you know, say it's Blue Book at that time was $6,000, you know. So you're going to come basically steal from me. You're going to come take this car that's worth $6,000 or whatever it was at that time on Blue Book, and for $600. And I've already, you know, other than you figuring in your interest, that's basically all that's left is being paid, you know. But they don't work it that way. Whenever you have a loan or something and everything, almost everything you pay, they say is going to the interest. It's not going on what you actually bought, the car or the house, whatever, and all this. So we're going to look into that crap too. And maybe it should be like a 50-50 deal or something. They can't do it like this, for the first years, you're paying the interest only stuff. And so we're going to look at all those types of things to make life fair, more fair and simpler for the average American, since Congress seems to be out of touch and doesn't look at these types of things at all. They're too busy grandstanding against each other, wanting to impeach each other, and all this other crap that they tie the government up with. They only seem to move when it's in the interest of their lobbyists, or they're pandering for votes and telling people they're going to give them weed. We're going to make there we go. That's the big advancement in American society. We're going to legalize marijuana. Woohoo! Aren't you satisfied? Are you a satisfied customer? Are you a satisfied customer out there, average American, working every day to raise your kids and maybe leave them something behind, make life easier for them? Are you a satisfied customer right now? That is what that is the big thing our government is doing for us. They're going to legalize marijuana all over the place. That should make you so happy and excited. Yes, sirree, buddy. Now, we're going to look at all these little things that make life really hard in some cases for the average working American who's not a criminal, who's out there just trying to get by. We're going to look at these types of things, and we can handle it with technology and all this and everything, and making it. We're going to make life hard for criminals. They're not going to be able to run. Cops will be able to shut the vehicle off. They're not going to be able to claim racially profiled because, the thing's going to record. That vehicle went by, it was speeding. It's going to ping. That's going to draw the cops' attention to you, not the color of your skin. What else? And people say, about cashless society and all this and everything. What's wrong with it? I mean, I use my debit out here all the time. I very seldom use cash. It's just easier. Quicker in line. Hit that card on the thing, it taps, whatever. It's quicker in line. You don't got to stand there while the cashier's counting out change. You don't got to count out change, all this type of stuff. And if you know anything about money, it's paper anyway. It's got no intrinsic value. So basically, we're in a moneyless society anyway, because the paper itself has no intrinsic value. There is no gold standard. Go on some of these things and on YouTube and look at that, get educated about that. So it's just paper, and we got these counterfeiters, and we spend all this money to make these high-tech dollar bills and $20 bills and all this and everything. Guess what? We've got the technology. We can encrypt everything. We have tougher penalties for people who hack and do all this stuff and steal identity and all this. You're getting, like I said, 2 strikes, you're out. Gas chamber, or electric chair, whatever, gas or electric, buddy. And people who think I'm being ridiculous about that and too harsh, I think it'd be a hell of a deterrent. And we can't afford this crap going in the future. But anyhow, so if you want to learn about money and all this and everything, and come to understand, it's really not money anyway. It'll make life near impossible for a lot of criminals to operate in a cashless society. At least it'll make it easier to track them, see where the money's going and stuff, and be able to say to these cartels, you know what? We got control of the system. Here you go. Because right now they put their money in banks all over the place, everything, or have it on pallets in their mansions or whatever. And this is how they pay all their thugs. And guess what? They won't be able to do that no more. Well, you got millions upon millions of dollars in that bank account there, and you're a cartel kingpin. We know that. We see where the money's coming from and everything. Guess what? Push of a button, transfer that money over to the fund for public schools or something. Sorry, Mr. Cartel. Now where's your incentive to be a drug dealer? We can take your money at any time. We can take your money at any time. You got no incentive to be a drug dealer no more, because we can take your money anytime. And we're going to look at things like charities and stuff like this. You got all these social justice warriors out there, these rich celebrities and ball players and all this and everything like that. And we have these cities that are falling apart, and the tax structure from the base there who live there and everything isn't enough to keep up on the schools and stuff like this. And we're going to talk about this too, how the politics of the day and the way everything is structured affects those communities. But anyhow, we're going to make it a charitable deduction. You can donate to a school in an inner city and other things in the inner city. You can donate to that, and it'll be a charitable tax deduction, just like any other charitable tax deduction. Go straight to the public school, make things better. You can make a charitable donation right to that city, so they can fix the streets in those bad neighborhoods and stuff like that, whatever it is. And we're going to talk about, do you know what the word minority is, and where it came into being, and how you think of minorities today as opposed to what it actually means and was meant to mean? Minority just means less in number. But now if somebody says minorities, what do you think about? And it's because of the minority leaders. When it came time that we needed more representation, they said it was unfair that there weren't enough African American representing the public in Congress and in city councils and all this and everything. And we got the voting thing going and everything like that. You look how they district these areas now, because an African, maybe now it wouldn't be as bad, but back then an African American that was running for office in like a 50-50 demographic in the district wasn't going to get elected with their liberal policies and all this and everything like this. So there has been a process to make to where these districts, where these candidates run, are pretty much predominantly minority based, which has come to mean black or people of color instead of less in number, and disadvantaged. It's come to mean that too, instead of, because Asians qualify as a minority in this country. Do you think of Asians as minorities? Not very often. Most Asians don't consider themselves a minority. And let's look at say like Denzel Washington. Do you consider him a minority? Most people would think no. Minorities means this inner city disadvantaged type thing. Denzel Washington wouldn't consider himself a minority in the understanding that most people have of it today. It just meant less in number. There's plenty of minorities according to less in number in this country, but there's only certain demographics that we actually consider in our heads from years and years through the press, and the way the meaning of the word has been changed, that we think are minorities anymore. And what makes a minority? Is it less in number? It's not supposed to mean, well, they're just because they're a minority, they're disadvantaged, etc. All this and everything. They've come to blur the meaning, and they've also changed these districts. They don't want even African Americans achieving in a lot of these areas any types of wealth or anything, because then they vote for the opposite party. Once they move out of those areas, then they're more apt to think about their money and their future and stuff. They tend to change parties and vote Republican. But these districts are set up and everything. You got to think the politicians worried about their own skin. They don't want these all black neighborhoods or poorer neighborhoods and stuff. They don't really want them to change, because if it changes and there's people who have money who live there, or whites who live there, that changes the demographic. Guess what? The politician might not get elected next term. Do you see what I'm saying? It's kind of like they had a captive audience there, which means they have permanent job security, keeping their seat in whatever it is, Congress, city council, whatever. They've got a captive audience. We're gonna fight for you. We're fighting. How long you been fighting for them? What have you done? That's the same mantra all over again. We're fighting for you. We're fighting for you. What have you done? What's gotten done? Well, it's Whitey's fault nothing's changed in this neighborhood. Really? You're the ones in control. What have you done to raise money there to make things better? What kind of innovations have you come up with to make the schools better, this and that? To bring businesses in there so that the tax base is enough to support the schools and give those kids in those areas, good education. Oh, and then you don't say anything when they burn those businesses and loot those businesses who provide the taxes to pay for your public works and stuff. You see, it's a vicious cycle. We got to stop this vicious cycle. It's just got to be stopped. But anyway, lots of ideas on things like that that we're going to do to make life easier and better for Americans. And then we'll talk about the environmental stuff. All this congestion in these cities and all this and everything. You can't get the freeway widened and all this. People won't move out of the way. We're going to talk about eminent domain and stuff, and getting rid of all this congestion going in the cities. Your commute's going to get a lot quicker, and we're going to be putting a lot less greenhouse gases into the air, because you're not going to be sitting in stop and go traffic for an hour on a 15-minute drive. All right. Wish you all the best out there. God bless. And we'll talk to you next time. Adios.